So I decided to do my last and final project on the story of Joseph, not just because that's my namesake who I'm named after, but because I truly do love his story of how he was faithful to the end and truly trusted the promise that God had given him. So in the beginning, Joseph was the son of Jacob and Rachel. Now Rachel was Jacob's favorite wife. Out of all the wives he had, Leah, all the others that he married, Rachel was by far Jacob's favorite. And from this, Joseph was Jacob's favorite son. Now this caused a lot of jealousy in Joseph's older brothers. They were all the sons of other wives, all the sons of Leah, but Joseph was the son of Rachel, Jacob's favorite wife. And from this we see that Joseph received a coat of many colors from his mother and father. And his brothers, this just caused so much jealousy in him to see that Joseph truly was the favorite. He truly was blessed. He was wrapped in a coat of many colors as a sign of love and favoritism. Um, just that love that they had for Joseph. Now, Joseph also had a dream that he was ruling over his brothers and that all of his brothers were bowing down to him while he was standing and ruling over them. This as well did not help any situation as far as jealousy goes with his brothers. This just caused more jealousy to dwell inside of his older brothers. We can see here that Joseph's brothers started to plot and think of opportunities to have to get rid of Joseph. And one day, one of those presented itself. They had the opportunity to sell him into slavery. And they acted on it. He was thrown into a pit. He was put into slavery. And Joseph was brought to Egypt. See here that slavery, while he was in slavery, Joseph works his way from the bottom to becoming favored by Potiphar. Came from this as low as it gets to being one of the most favored by Potiphar. Now we have a lot going on here. We have Potiphar's wife who tries to sleep with Joseph, but Joseph continues to resist and flee. Joseph's not going to fall into his temptation. He's going to remain faithful to his God. His God is helping him. He's going to remain faithful to him. He loves his God. Now Potiphar's wife one day is able to pull Joseph's cloak off when she tries to lay with him. And with this cloak, she goes to her husband, Potiphar, and lies and says that Joseph tried to sleep with her. And this enrages Potiphar. And Potiphar then sends Joseph to prison. So in prison, Joseph is once again at the bottom, low to the low. But as time goes on, he continues to grow, and he continues to rise in authority. God's hand is on him, and his favor is on his life. So Joseph is able to interpret the dream of the baker and the cupbearer that are sent to prison. The baker's dream is interpreted to be that he's going to be killed, and the cupbearer's dream is that he's going to be put back in his place of authority. And Joseph tells his cupbearer, "Do not forget about me when you're back in authority. Do not forget about me." Both interpretations were correct, but the cupbearer does forget about Joseph for a few years. So then Joseph's still in prison, but God's hand's still on Joseph. So the Pharaoh at the time starts to experience some very odd dreams that just unsettle his soul. And he needs someone to be able to interpret this. He needs someone to be able to settle his soul, to know what's going on. So his cupbearer remembers Joseph and knows that he interpreted a dream for him. So Joseph is brought before Pharaoh, and Joseph is able to correctly interpret Pharaoh's dream. And from this, Pharaoh raises Joseph to be second in command. So we see Joseph went from the bottom all the way as high as he could get in authority, all because God's hand was on him and because Joseph remained faithful. So there's a famine going on. There's 7 years of famine, and Joseph was able to spend 7 years of plenty before the famine to be able to gather food so Egypt is well and prepared. So from this, Joseph's brother come to Egypt begging for food because they did not prepare. They did not have food for the famine. So Joseph tests them to see if they'll do the same thing to his youngest brother that they did to him. So Joseph has another brother, Benjamin, and he is also the son of Rachel and Jacob. So Joseph's testing them to see if they will treat him the same way that they treat Benjamin the same way that they treated himself. And they do not. And Joseph has mercy on them, and he saves them, and he spares them. He gives them food. He reveals him his identity and his brothers repent and apologize for what they did. And Joseph's family returns. Joseph's family is able to go to Egypt, and Joseph once again be able to see his father, the father that he loved and the father that loved him so much. So we can see here a summary. Joseph remained faithful throughout his entire life, no matter what was going on, through the good and through the bad. Joseph still worshipped God. Joseph had mercy on his brothers, and he saved them. He could have easily have let them go on, and they could have starved. But no, he had mercy on them and saved them. So the lesson that we can learn from Joseph is to be faithful no matter what the circumstances we're in. The good, the bad, we're going to remain faithful because God is a just God and he is with us. He will remain faithful. Just remain faithful to him. We can also learn to be forgiving to those that have wronged us. Look at Joseph. Look what his brothers did to him, and he still forgives them. Look what we did to Jesus, and he still forgave us. We need to be forgiving to those that have wronged us. Finally, never forget the promise that God has given you. Joseph just had hope and faith in the promise that God gave to him. And he remained faithful to God and expected and believed on the promises that God gave to him. And God delivered on all those promises. What a great story of a man who remained faithful to God from the beginning all the way to the end.